So today, schools, it's not only adolescents. In college, we have adults too, right? Okay, so we talk about that today. So you know what secondary school means, right? Middle school, so forth, right? Students achieve proficiency differently, and ways of measuring school success can also differ. So some students decide to go to regular high school, and then some of them trading school. Depends on what they want to do, right? So, okay, middle, junior high, and high school. So we have two approaches to instruction. Direct instruction focuses on the mastery of basic skills, so all students are involved in the same activities. On the other hand, differentiated instruction assumes that learning what facts mean is central, uses a flexible classroom structure. And learning styles are student preferences concerning learning. What kind of learning styles can you think of?
The
visual, yes. Yes, absolutely. And then some of you prefer my style of doing PowerPoint, okay? Seeing it or visually, so you might see the videos or, you know, something more visual oriented. And some people are more reading and understanding, comprehending it more. And it can be a combination of all different things too, okay? But everybody has different learning styles, okay? It doesn't mean one is better than the other, it's just the different learning styles. Transition is often accompanied by a drop in grades, unfortunately. Remember, once you are in 5th grade in elementary school, like you're the oldest, you have more powerful than the other, first, second. But then when you go to middle school, you're at the bottom again. So transitions can be hard, okay? So other adjustment problems may reflect the less personal classroom or decrease in decision making, which collides with their growing need for autonomy, all right? So parents can help by being involved with the school and by communicating expectations for achievement and the importance of education, okay? One consistent factor in effective schools is skilled teachers who have high expectations. The studies have consistently indicating that, okay? So they interact more with students, reward them more, and have friendlier classrooms. Remember, authoritative teaching is better than authoritarian teaching too, okay? So skilled teachers are able to present material in ways that can be understood by all of their students. Leslie knows, right? Nicole too. And also, school size is another factor in effective schools. Adolescents from smaller schools, less than 500 students, have more positive interactions, fewer discipline problems, less absenteeism, and fewer dropouts. Students, especially from minorities, benefit from smaller classes or smaller learning communities. The size matters for learning, okay? College too. If you go to traditional four-year college, like University of Michigan, the lecture hall can be like 200 students. You may not even interact with the professor. You might be dealing with the teaching assistant, TAs, constantly, okay? So think about that. Smaller size classroom is better. Bunker Hill too, we are capped by 32 for non-critical thinking classes, and our classes, psychology classes, are considered critical thinking courses. It's 28 is the maximum numbers I have. Same thing. So school climate refers to the unique characteristics of a school. Fair, supportive teachers contribute much to the climate, as do relationships among the students, such as friendliness. Schools that place value on all areas of study promote achievement among all students. Then full-service schools work with community agencies to provide health and social services for students and families. So effective schools also involve parents in their children's education. So adolescents with involved parents have more positive attitude towards school and high achievement scores and goals. Support, support, support. So James Comer says parental involvement begins before school when parents provide experiences that prepare children for learning. So he points at some intervention programs as contributing to students' problems as they internalize low expectations. His school development program involves parents and students in the decision-making process and fosters achievement. Expectations definitely influence so much. Higher expectation, better the outcomes with our students, no matter what grade you're in, college too, okay? More important than the other factors is the ability of a school to provide safety. Many students have been in fights or have been threatened or injured. Some have felt it was too unsafe to go to school, especially what has been happening for school shootings too, right? So large differences exist among ethnic groups and between sexes too. When my sister was working at high school in Newburyport, there was a student who committed suicide in school. He brought the gun to school.
He was actually outside.
Oh, was it outside?
Yeah,
oh, you knew. So you knew.
Yeah, he was outside on the wall right
Yeah.
in front of the school.
Yeah.
And it was a few years ago, though. I think
Yeah, it was,
like
no,
six-
that was not the recent one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
like 6, 7
Yeah.
years ago.
Yep. That's what happened, right? Sad. Very sad. Of course, it comes to bullying. Okay, it's a form of violence that affects many adolescents. And there are 3 characteristics of bullying. Hurtful actions or remarks, psychological abuse right there, actions repeated over time. It can be physical, emotional, scar. Imbalance of power between the aggressor and the victim. So bullying is more likely to occur in middle school. Why middle school? Anybody? Age definitely is one of the factors. Yes?
Maybe it's because they're coming into their own understanding of themselves and their sexual identity.
Exactly right. Identity development.
There's a stigma for being different.
Absolutely. Because remember, early adolescents, they try to fit in. So being different is not unique. It's not good. You're right about it, right on. In relation to what you said to identity, they start knowing who they are, but if they feel different, again, they're not fitting in. So age too, because it's a transition, they're not kid, but then they're not adult yet. And it's middle school, meaning middle adolescence. So very good, right on. But boys are more likely to engage in physical acts, while girls may spread rumors or exclude one from a group, like Rachel said earlier, okay? Because of the early adolescents' need to belong to a group, bullying can have harmful effects such as anxiety, depression, loneliness, and low self-esteem. So adolescents who are more insecure or lack self-esteem are more likely to be bullied and may react in one of 2 ways. Passive victims are not likely to retaliate and then on their own or rally support from peers. Okay? They tend to suck it up. That shouldn't be the case. Provocative victims are aggressive and react angrily, like me. Their aggression is different from the bullies, manifesting as outbursts rather than attempts to dominate others. Those are the 2 types. Then bullies do not stand out from peers in popularity, but do in other ways. They are more impulsive and aggressive, and in boys, bigger and stronger. Bullies and victims both score lower in getting along with others, social problem solving, and managing depression. So many bullies are themselves victims of bullying too. That can be the case too. I have seen many of those too. They bully others because they were the victims of bullies before. They kind of switch the gear, okay, and do it too, okay. So successful intervention programs identify action at 3 levels: the school, the classroom, and the individual, okay? At the school level, information about the frequency of bullying must be obtained. And it's important that teachers and staff have a clear definition by which to identify bullying so that it can be discussed and strategies incorporated into school policies. Empathy is the key. Like, I helped kids who were bullied because I felt bad and I don't like it. How do I feel if I was bullied? I don't like it. So I helped. So teaching empathy is so important too for kids. They can use a different outlet rather than bullying others. We have to teach them the better way to cope. At the classroom level, materials such as videos can help students recognize bullying and also identify with its effects. Students can react in a variety of ways to real bullying, including taking an active part or trying to help the victim. Using discussions of videos can help students speak up and try to stop bullying when they see it. And of course, sometimes they are afraid to stop because they don't want to be bullied by those. But there are ways we can find some others like you and say, that's not right. As a group, we can do it, right? Maybe it's hard for you to just save or go against the bullies by yourself. But if it's a group of people who understand the consequences. So here's the figure, possible student responses to bullying. So this is called the bullying circle. So to start the bullying, A, the bullies. B, followers do not start the bullying but take an active part. Okay? C, supporters do not take an active part but support the bullying. And D, possible bullies do not openly support but like the bullying. And then E, onlookers simply watch what happens. Okay? And then F, possible defenders think they ought to help but don't do it. G, defenders help or try to help the victim. And Y is the victim. So at the individual level, talking with bullies is most effective one-on-one. Along with a counselor, bullies are more likely to accept responsibilities, like one-on-one. Like you said, identify one person for their actions, especially if they are asked to think of ways to change the situation. It is also helpful to meet with the victim and bring the concerns of each to the other before having the student meet to agree on a strategy. Schools can teach peace by providing experiences in which students learn to construct ways of conflict resolution. Classroom structures as cooperative learning environments help develop interpersonal skills. Conflict resolution training helps students perceive conflicts as problems to be solved by all. So those are basic intervention skills that you can use. Another one, constructive controversy is a classroom technique in which students work in small groups. Pairs of students will take turns arguing one side of a question and then take the other side and argue as effectively. So we switch. So I might do pair and then say, you're gonna be a bully, you're gonna be bullied, and then you switch, okay? So finally, all work toward reaching a consensus after. So small group, role reverse, or role playing is very effective. As schools try to reach students with differing interests, abilities, and backgrounds, materials must be accessible to all students. So a gender bias exists in that many of the central characters in school materials are males. So we use male generic language. The use of the pronoun he to refer to individuals of either sex is prevalent. So research has shown that the male generic language causes people to think of males rather than of people in general. So the effects of male generic language are felt most by adolescents, females. So this language can affect adolescent judgments of how competent a woman is in different types of jobs. So in a jigsaw classroom, I love it. Students work in small groups that are balanced for ethnic background and ability. So each student in the group contributes a different part. Even with this fostering of cooperation, some minority adolescents face problems if they do not have the cultural perspective presented in class materials and books. And especially America is a melting pot. That's why whenever I choose the textbook, I have to find the textbook has multicultural perspectives no matter what, because that's the reality. So textbooks may omit the contributions of minorities or present them negatively, especially in history or literature. If teachers adopt the same point of view, the course may not make sense to a minority student with a different point of view. So communication patterns can also complicate learning for minorities as teachers ask questions differently from adults in their communities. So in Japanese society, because I'm Japanese, if I'm in college, we don't raise our hands to ask questions to professors. We just listen, take notes. That's it. But what's the point of getting education then if we cannot communicate, discuss certain things in class? You know? So. And then it's hard because when I was an international student coming to this country as a junior, because I went to 2 years in Japanese college, it was hard for me to adjust at the beginning. I felt that it's so rude that I speak out no matter what I want to say. Some students in discussion, they say anything they want, even if it's not related to the topic they are discussing in group, and I felt embarrassed. Then don't speak. But at the same time, I'm like, what are you saying to this group? It's not related to the topic that you guys are discussing. Some people, you know that, right? Some people do, but then it's a challenge for students from different countries. They're not, they're not exposed to that different classroom settings like that. So adjustment is hard sometimes. So using different languages at home and at school limits practice, and students may be silent for fear of embarrassment. That's what I did too. When I was an ESL student at Regis College, my professors praised, when you speak, your English is perfect, because I didn't speak much at all. And I had to think over and over in my head. Then it made sense I speak out. So I say only 1 or 2 things in like one class. That's it. Now I'm non-stop talking, as you can tell. I don't even translate in my head. I just say what I need to say. But I have been here for 24 years. That's why. I'm so used to it now. So written work can be problematic if adolescents have trouble translating their familiar home language into standard English. I see that sometimes with international students. When I feel bad because I used to do that, I translated from Japanese to English. So in my head, it makes sense. But then when English speaker read it, and it's hard to follow. I understand that. I have been there. Sometimes international students beautifully write, and then American students have poor grammatical errors. And I'm like, what the heck? But it depends, again, individual differences. It's not group by group. So to the degree that their schooling reflects the comfort of their families, minority adolescents are more or less willing to move into a larger society. So these experiences come from overlapping spheres of influence. So the microsystem, again, is made up of first-hand experiences at home, in the classroom, and with friends. Okay, that's a direct influence. Interactions between the different microsystems make up the mesosystem, as you remember, in which adolescents frequently experience problems. So their parents may distrust the system, or teachers may communicate less respect for the parents. And sometimes parents disrespect teachers too. The exosystem is at the level of community and may affect adolescents in their housing or school availability too. So those all systems, remember from chapters 1 and 2, that's interdependently affecting each other. So macrosystem consists of the political and social climate, and though removed, can affect the adolescent's daily life. So laws for compulsory education and mainstreaming of special needs students reflect the macrosystem's effect. Okay? So it may also be experienced as beliefs, biases, and stereotypes, which may be at odds with the home microsystem too. Professor Jane Cohn, do you know her? She's an English professor. She's awesome. We are very good friends. One of her daughters have Down syndrome, okay? But she's posting its challenge of 31 days of the month of October, I think, and she's posting every day. I love reading it. So she's an English teacher, so her writing is so awesome to begin with, but she's such a positive parent, and she has such good group support for raising her daughter with Down syndrome. And then, bless you. And then she was telling us about some negative pieces of Down syndrome. And then she's like, I understand the challenges. I was there too, but Life has to move on, so I have to be positive. So her daughter is very unique. I love the way she is. But then the kids around her are understanding how she is. So sometimes she's worried about negative consequences, but basically the kids are very supportive. They think that her daughter is funny, and it's such positive influence they have. So it's so important. They have biases against like the kids with Down syndrome, but then reality is they are such positive role models that the grown-up kids have Down syndrome, but they're such high achievers. They have been contributing to communities and society. So it's beliefs too.
They're actually very smart. Like they have their own personality.
Yeah,
like
they do.
Some of them have like their own personality, like very good sense of humor. And
They do.
They're like once you get to like interact with them,
Yeah, exactly. So educational systems tend to stress changes at the level of the microsystem, such as home enrichment, to overcome problems of poor attendance and low achievement. But John Ogbu argues that changes need to be made at the macrosystem level as well. I agree completely. To overcome the effects of a job ceiling on the social status of minorities. It's not only within microsystem. It has to be exo, it has to be meso, and macro too. Everything has to change. Like everybody has to cooperate with each other to make changes. It's not only one. It has to be multi-layered, multi-factored. So, now academic achievement. Family income is consistently related to academic achievement. The reasons are varied. Low-income students are likely to have poorer nutrition, less health care, more crowded living situations, and other obligations. So low-income students also have less access to resources such as computers or help with homework, and fewer role models. Schools that serve low-income students differ too in the teaching staff and physical facilities. Biases, stereotypes there too. But then some don't. Fewer teachers have master's degrees and more teach subjects in which they have not measured or received certification. That's true. So schools are more likely to be overcrowded, have larger classes, and fewer resources, all of which may have been present at the elementary level as well. So teachers have to be educated too. Not because they are bad. They might not be aware of certain issues that they haven't been through yet. Okay, like teaching at community college really teaches me too, because I'm prepared. I have a PhD in psych, and my training with my professors and so forth have been very excellent, that most of the cases I already have some knowledge and experiences. But some such complicated issues my students have, then sometimes I have to be even educated more in certain areas. That's what we do. It's like teachers have to be educated constantly. That's why we have to do professional development. So schools may address the problems of diverse interests and abilities through academic tracking. Students are assigned to a course of study based on academic interests and goals, past achievement, and evaluations. But there are at least 2 tracks in high school, one for college-bound and one for non-college students. However, academic tracking may contribute to the problems it tries to correct. Minority and low-income students are more likely to be assigned to non-college tracks, and more of these students will drop out than those on college-bound tracks. However, again, research on tracking is inconclusive. Some schools found that tracking may benefit students by allowing them to favorably compare themselves. It's pros and cons. It's good to track each student's, skills, activities, abilities, and so forth. But it's like life map at Bunker Hill too. We have to help students. There are possibilities here and there and there and there. We don't limit students for certain possibilities. There are many different ways. That's why we use different inventories and then different approaches to understand who you are, personality types, your interests, your abilities, current abilities, skills. Then overall, maybe this is a good way to go. Or if it doesn't work, there is another one that you can go for. We don't just limit for just certain things. It has to be, antennas should be open and wide and see, oh, this may work for me. All right, so an alternative to academic tracking for dealing with diversity is to put students of different learning abilities together in groups because it's a teamwork. This cooperative learning places the responsibility for learning on the students. Teaching responsibility, empathy, listening skills, right? Presentation skills. There are many different ways to make our students success, right? Another powerful alternative is parent involvement as in commerce model. So this successful model includes parents helping the classroom and in administration of school activities. So parent involvement is very important too. So mastery of basic skills in reading and math has not changed over generations in the US, with the exception of improvement for African Americans and Hispanics. I'm sorry I laughed at this because it's multiple intelligence. Reading, math are basic skills. Yes, it's important, but that's not it. That will give them fundamentals, but multiple intelligence is the key. So adolescents in the US score below the international average in math and science. Different approaches to teaching subjects such as math use in other countries can significantly improve students' mastery. Max's teachers use Singapore math because Max is advanced in math, reading too. He just scores high when he takes the test by regular time, okay. But when it comes to the he just outscores, like his cousins, same way. My husband cousins, the same way. It runs in the family, I think. But math, he's advanced, so they had to use Singaporean math, and he loves it. So a study of 20,000 adolescents looked at why some students succeed and others do not. One finding is that many high school students are disengaged from school. 1/3 admitted to goofing off during the day, and many admitted to cheating on work. These students spend only 4 hours per week on homework, the average per day in other industrialized countries. 2/3 of high school students had jobs, many taking easier classes to reduce their workload while maintaining grades. These investigators suggest that the problem is more what is going on at home with friends and in the community. Yes and no. The quality of the schooling is important, but so is the larger context in which school's influence matters. True. This one, yes and no, because some students, they see their friends not doing well, and they have to decide, okay, I have to make choices. Do I want to be like them, although they're my friends, I like them, but I want to be successful, and then they change, or they might go with them. So it's yes and no, right? It's not just because of what's going on. One contextual factor that underlies disengagement from school is the student beliefs about how important it is for them to do well in school. So while many believe it is important to have a diploma, they didn't relate that to what they learned or how well they did in classes. Their motivation is to avoid failing rather than to get something out of their classes. So ideas on how to change this motivational pattern came from differences in achieving adolescents of different ethnicities. Ethnicity contributed more to success than all other factors, even affluence, and Asian Americans consistently outperformed others. Asian Americans put more effort into their schoolwork and spend more time at it. So these students believe that not doing well in classes can hamper future success. They also report more positive feelings when engaged in work-like activities and internalization of their culture's values. Work hard, play hard, right? That's the ethic I teach my kids already. Work hard, but you can play hard too. So we have 2 patterns of achievement behavior. Task mastery orientation. Students focus on task and work to increase mastery and competence. The other one is performance ability orientation. Students focus on their own performance and use it to assess their ability. So their students, let's say, all A's, but I mean, I'm not against all A's students, and then some students all A's, and also they have the ability to reflect about their own abilities and then try to look for room for growth too. But some students just getting A, but don't reflect, right? So it has to be a combination of both. Then self-handicapping strategies, adaptive behaviors that account for poor performance in place of a lack of ability. So these strategies handicap students and make failure likely, as well as interfering with adaptive coping skills. And this is big. This is the one I want to talk about, okay? A stereotype threat is the risk of confirming a negative stereotype, which may increase the use of self-handicapping strategies. If a researcher says to you, here's the maths test, and this test has been indicating that no matter who you are, male or female, they tend to score the same or similar. But then if someone says, this math test, females tend to score lower than males, do you know what's going to happen? Females tend to score lower on the test because the stereotype threat. You heard researchers saying that with this math test, females tend to score lower. You think you're female, I tend to score lower, and it reflects on your performance. Zach.
So are you saying in a way by sort of thinking in a specific manner
Yeah.
that you can almost like manipulate
Yes.
your subconscious
Yes.
into not like tricking you, but into like translating to the physical alternative of success or failure?
Correct. You're right on. Manipulation is the key. Stereotype threat can be a manipulation. So, as you just said, we can use for positive outcome, not the negative outcome. Good. So gender is related to perceptions of academic competence. Males are likely to attribute successes to their ability and failure to lack of effort. Females may attribute their successes to hard work, lack, or ease of the task. They attribute failures to lack of ability, discounting their successes. It's just a tendency. These motivational pattern differences between males and females are evident in junior high. As course material requires new ways of thinking, as in math, early errors may lead to confusion and interfere with the performance of girls more than of boys. So cumulative effects of this perception may lead to girls taking fewer math classes. So there's the big part of stereotype threat. And gifted, right? Gifted and talented adolescents place high on intelligent skills or may demonstrate talent in diverse areas. So enrichment programs provide gifted students with extra opportunities and experiences. Acceleration programs allow gifted students to advance beyond their grade level at a faster rate. And learning disabilities have these three defining features of programs, okay? Discrepancy between expected and actual performance, difficulty with academic tasks that cannot be traced to emotional or sensory problems, and presumed neurological dysfunction. In the classroom, learning disabled adolescents have trouble keeping up with classmates and have poorer study habits and test-taking skills. And outside the classroom, these students have poorer social skills than the other students. So they are also less likely to be involved in extracurricular activities, though increasing their involvement may be an important way to increase their motivation for school. But I'm teaching my students, and in this class I'm not worried about, but the students who have learning disabilities, I said, it's just a different approaches and also different learning styles that they have to go through. So it's not like they are less likely to success. They have to find the right combination of support and the learning styles, okay? Then dropping out of school is the last step of a process began earlier. These students generally experience more school failures, lack basic skills, may have been held back, and have higher absenteeism. So reasons for dropping out include trouble with grades, teachers, dislike of school, financial problems, pregnancy, and marriage. So many thoughts of things. And relationships within the family affect dropping out too. Okay. Parental attitude towards education is another important factor to be successful. All right. So that was chapter 8. Okay. Just on time. Thank you for being patient.